This is the Be More podcast. I am your host, Jack Williams, and this is a show all about health, nutrition, mindset, and performing at our very best. And this is going to be your catalyst to being more. Hello, Instagram and Facebook. Oh, there you go, I'm in. So, today we are recording an episode of the Be More podcast. I'm at home now with Bobs. I'm normally at home on a Monday anyway because I work from home, and Robyn is on her first day with me. So we are recording an episode of the podcast, and we are also recording it on Instagram and Facebook Live. How are you feeling?
A bit nervous.
She's nervous. I'm used to this lark. I record podcasts very regularly, and I think it's something Robyn wants to get into. But I've brought Robyn on today because she is being more. She is so brave. She's made the decision to come away from a very well-paid job and wants to give being her own boss the best possible shot. And we're very excited, aren't we? And I want you to tell the listeners of the Be More podcast and the Instagram listeners and Facebook listeners what your plans are, why you've done it, and tell us a bit about you. You've already been on the podcast before, so don't repeat that stuff, but let's start again.
Okay, so I was asked to do a talk yesterday, so I'll tell the same story that I did then because that's more focused on this. So
what was yesterday?
Oh yeah, so yesterday was a regional training day for Herbalife, so a load of our team were there, people from like Essex, all over the country would come in to just be trained on how to build their business and learn about what other people are doing, some recognition, like the team are on absolute fire and loads of people have been promoted, getting pay rises and that sort of stuff. So it's just a monthly training day, and as you know, we were both asked to talk, so I was asked to tell my story and what I'm doing with my business. There. You want me to tell my story now?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the last 5 years I was working for a global software company. So they've got offices in the UK, the US, rapidly expanding. And I actually started on reception. So I had a really, really junior role. Like you do when you join the world of work, you just start off junior and work your way up. And that's exactly what I did. It was great, and I got to travel to all sorts of places, including Vegas, Atlanta, New York. I actually got to go to Cameroon as well and see some charity projects that were going on there. And by the age of 23, so I started at the age of 19 earning 18 grand a year, and by the age of 23 I was earning 50 grand a year, which by any means is amazing. And from the outside, people would have looked at that and been like, wow, Robyn's really successful, she's doing really, really well. But what a lot of people didn't realise is what was going on behind the scenes for me personally, for me to be in that position. So a couple of years ago I went through a breakup that I didn't take very well, and I wasn't a very self-developed or a strong person. I wasn't that self-confident, so I just didn't deal with it very well moving into my own home, like living on my own, that sort of thing. It was a bit of a shock to the system for me. And I didn't realise at the time, but in hindsight I think that I threw myself into my work so that I didn't have to deal with the reality of being on my own, and how I was feeling and the situation I was in. And I guess was a bit lost, but what I knew was work, and I knew I was good at that, and that's what made me feel valuable. So I just threw myself into that of my own accord, and I just let it absorb me. So I was working 14 to 15 hours every day. I was working weekends, again, just choosing to, because that time on my own I just couldn't cope with. I was super, super stressed out. I'd almost get anxious when I wasn't working because I'd be thinking about all the things that I could be doing or the things that weren't completed on my to-do list. And it got to the point where I was missing like family barbecues, or wasn't seeing my family very much and friends and stuff like that, because when I wasn't working I didn't almost feel valuable, and I was anxious about the fact that I wasn't. And so that kind of continued, and your body can only cope with so much. And one day actually I put myself in hospital. So I was laying in bed one night, so I'd started work at like 7 that day I think, and I got home about 9:30 in the evening. Just laying in bed, and my heart kind of like did this twist thing. I don't really know how to describe it, but something wasn't right, and I ended up, an ambulance coming to my house, They did an ECG on me in my front room and said that they needed to take me in, so got taken to hospital in an ambulance that night. My mum came with me. Obviously she was really worried about me. I was really scared, and I was just laying in this hospital bed having all these blood tests and stuff done, and was thinking, this is it, I'm 23 and I've put myself under such stress and pressure, and now what have I got to show for it? Like, this is the end for me. Luckily it wasn't. I'm still here today. But I even like took a picture of my hospital bracelet in case anyone didn't believe me. Like, I was just that, I don't know, just that not confident in myself that I needed to almost prove that it actually happened. And although that was a shock and it made me realise that I needed to sort myself out a bit, once I'd put myself in that position and I'd taken on that workload, I don't like letting people down. So there was no way that I could just suddenly reduce my hours without not doing the job that I'd set myself up that I was now doing. So I had to almost continue doing that so that I didn't let other people down. And so that I didn't feel bad about that. So I kind of continued in with those bad habits. And I was just stuck in a really, really dark place. I'd work really, really hard throughout the week. And then it would get to the weekend and I would just go on massive binges and just like spend loads of money, like drink loads of alcohol, like not even remember anything the next day, like, and then be really unproductive and just feel really anxious and low and all these sorts of things, just because I was working so hard, and then I just felt like I needed to blow out, and it was just like a vicious cycle. And then, so I was just stuck in this really dark place. But I didn't really realise it at the time, I think. I was just going through the motions. I didn't really realise what situation I was in. And then on the 14th of February this year, on Valentine's Day, I guess I needed saving because that's when my hero turned up.
Oosh.
And so Jack came in to do a talk at my work, and we had a couple of mutual friends anyway who had mentioned us to each other, and obviously we kind of went from there. And at the same time, you had just discovered Herbalife, which I think timing is absolutely everything. And then I got into this relationship that showed me what love and trust it really is, and to have someone that cared about me as much as I cared about them. And like, obviously I've always had my family and stuff, but being a PA for my whole career, I'm used to being the one looking after someone else and caring about someone else all the time. So that was new for me, to have someone give back what I put in by choice. So when I first saw like the Herbalife thing, I'd seen people do it on my Facebook before, and they just seemed to be like just smashing pictures of shakes all over Facebook, and I was like, not really sure. But as it was you, I thought, well, have a look at it. You're qualified in like fitness and all this sort of stuff, and you wouldn't be recommending something to me that wasn't good for me. So tried the products, really liked them, looked at the marketing plan, and to be honest, I didn't really understand it or believe it when I first saw it, because I've got a very corporate mindset, and I'm kind of, in my head I was like, well, I've had to work this hard to get any success, so why should it be that easy? Something doesn't add up there. But then I kind of got into the business, went to more meetings, understood a bit more about how it works, and it's genius. And a lot of people, I think, are just not educated on how it actually works. There's a lot of misconceptions around it. So I decided to quit my job and do this full time. It's always been a goal of mine to run my own business, and originally I was planning to do like a female empowerment coaching business and help women with their confidence and their goals and stuff like that. But I found that Herbalife is the vehicle to allow me to help people and have one, bigger impact on more people, and two, deeper impact on the people I'm working with, because I can help them financially, I can help their health, I can still teach them about goals and all that sort of stuff, and also I only get rewarded if they're successful, which means that there's absolutely no reason why I wouldn't put everything into it. So this is the first Monday of that.
And how do you feel?
It felt a little bit weird this morning. Like, we were sat here having breakfast and it was 8:30, and I was like, oh, I'd normally be leaving for work now, and it was just a little bit weird. But it just feels like I was saying to you this morning, it feels like this is the first day of my life almost, and that sounds really cheesy and weird, but I can't explain how it feels to be doing something so fulfilling. And it's like this is my purpose. I've always wanted to help people, and and support people and stuff like that. That's why I'm a good PA, because I like supporting other people. I'm good at it. So to do something like that has such an impact on people's lives personally, and then to get rewarded for that is just, it's mental. I feel like this is what I was meant to do.
Love it. And I don't want people to think that this is like a massive Herbalife pitch, because it isn't. It's just a case of two people who have built up good incomes doing things that didn't give us the fulfillment that we probably could have had with a different vehicle that we've now found. So that's what the lesson is, I think, to everyone. It's to find the vehicle that gives you the fulfillment, whether it's giving you the return of income for your time or not. And that's what we are trying to put across here. I think it's, like you said yesterday in your talk, you only live once. So like, it isn't about money. And Robyn was on about, she earned 50 grand a year. Financially, how are you financially earning 50 grand a year?
Well, I'm in debt.
There you go.
So, not very much you can say about that.
But when I was younger, I used to think, wow, £50,000 a year, like that's goals. Like I'd love to, if I could ever earn that much money, I'd be sorted forever. But what we don't really realise is if you're not in a good place financially, mentally, like not just mentally, then you're just going to spend it. It's escapism. And people think, oh, what? You're on 50 grand a year, you must be so happy. You wasn't, but everyone thought you were. Mm-hmm. You had a filter on, just like I did, and it's just like, why didn't you tell anyone?
If I'm honest, I don't think I realised how bad a situation I was in at the time. I think that, like, my mum and my sisters tried to, and my dad as well, like, tried to approach it with me a few times so they could obviously see it, but I just wouldn't. I'd just have my blinkers on, like I wouldn't listen, and I was just blind to it. I was blind to what I was doing. I was just stuck in like that vicious circle that I spoke about, and I was just going through the motions. I wasn't stopping to think about anything, and I'd almost get my back up, and I feel bad about that now, because the people were just trying to help me, saying I was working too many hours and stuff, and I just would write it off and be like, well, they just don't get it because they're not the same as me, and I would just set myself apart and just know that I'm different. And I think I am different, but I wasn't meant to be different in that way.
Good, you almost killed yourself. So what are you excited about now? What's the future hold for you now that you've obviously experienced the pain to make you realise you need to do something different? And what made you so brave to do it as well? Because not many people listening to this podcast would leave a job earning 50 grand a year to do something which hadn't yet replaced that income. So yeah, tell us about how you feel about that.
I think the biggest thing for me is I've developed, and I think a lot of this is down to you, and through the personal development that I've been doing, and from surrounding myself with positive, like-minded people, I just got belief in myself, and I know that I can do it, and I've seen what other people can do, and I'm like, if they can do that, then I can too. And I'm not, like, in the lead up to leaving work, everyone was like, are you nervous? Like, and I wasn't. I haven't been nervous. I was emotional on my last day because I got sentimental, and it's been a big part of my life. Like, the 5 years in that company, I've met some amazing people, I've had some great mentors, and I've just learnt loads, but I've just been excited. And I think that I'm just excited to, one, be in control of my own time, not having anyone telling me where I've got to be, what I've got to do, and also not doing stuff that I don't want to do. Like, unfortunately, in a job, there's stuff that has to be done, whether you like it or not, and there'll be parts of your job that you enjoy and there's parts of it that you don't, and you kind of weigh it up, and if you've got stuff that you enjoy, then you put up with the bad stuff. And I'm like, I don't have to do any of the stuff that I don't want to do. I only have to do the things that I love doing. And like you said, I said yesterday, like, you only live once, and I've experienced enough in my life to understand how valuable life is, and that you are only here once. And if you're not doing what you love, and you're just so absorbed by being busy or paying your bills or whatever it is, then, like, that's not a life. You're going to get to retirement age, and one, you're probably not going to have your finances set up to live a good retirement anyway. And two, like, what have you got to show for it? Like, what memories have you made? What experiences have you had? What time have you had with the people you love? Because those are the things that are important. Because at the end of the day, when you're on your deathbed, you're not going to be thinking about, like when I was in the hospital, it wasn't technically my deathbed, but I wasn't thinking about, oh, I'm so glad I put in all of those hours, I'm so glad I got that bit of work done. I was thinking, I'm fuming that I wasn't at that barbecue, I'm fuming that I didn't go and see my sisters and my nieces that weekend. Like, they're the things that are important, not
So why didn't you then go and do that after you've had the after you was in the hospital bed?
Because I wasn't in enough pain then, clearly, and I think I just didn't have a way out. Like, when you came along, and then when I discovered Herbalife through you, that was my lifeline, and it kind of clicked for me a bit later down the line that was my ticket out. And before then I didn't have another option because I didn't know about this, and that's why I'm like, I want to share this with as many people as possible, because I want to help people that are in my situation or other situations, and they just need that lifeline, they need that ticket out of the situation that they're currently in.
Does everyone need a lifeline, or do you need to take ownership yourself?
Good question. I think there's some people that are looking for something like this, and they're not necessarily in pain, but this is just, they're entrepreneurial and that sort of thing. Like, this ticks every box you could possibly want. So I think that, yeah, to an extent you need to take control of it, but you also need a vehicle to be able to do that.
Okay. So you're 23 now, aren't you?
24.
24, damn it. So you walk into a cafe, Robyn walks in, 21 years old. Do you say anything to her or not?
No, I don't think I would.
You wouldn't say anything?
There's things that I would obviously change about my past, but I'm also grateful for every single thing that's happened to me, because if it hadn't, I wouldn't be where I was now, and I wouldn't think in the way that I do now, and I wouldn't value things as much as I do now. Like, if I had met you without having gone through everything I've gone through, I wouldn't have appreciated you as much.
Mm-hmm. But what tangible advice can you give people listening to not fall into the mistakes and the holes that you fell into?
I think the biggest thing, and the biggest thing that got me into the position, is worrying about what other people think. I've always been so concerned about what other people think of me and not upsetting other people that I wasn't putting myself first ever. And I think that's the biggest lesson that anyone can learn, is to look after yourself before you look after other people, and always do what's right for you, because at the end of the day, they'll always do what's right for them. They're not going to put you first all the time.
What about self-worth?
Yeah, value yourself. Like, I didn't value myself at all, which is why I was willing to do all of that work and all of this sort of stuff. Like, yeah, I was earning good money, but if you actually counted up all the hours and stuff and the value...
What made you work so much? You've already said it, so maybe you should have done something different about that as well. The breakup. So many people stay in relationships with people. Like, I don't know the guy, but there's so many people stay in relationships with people just because they settle.
100%. And I look at it now, and
because that was the catalyst for you going into work mode, because he made you feel like no self-worth. Maybe you should have, if you spoke to your 18, 19-year-old self before that relationship, you'd be like, value yourself more, so you don't put up with that. That's advice that people from this podcast can take, is, hang on a minute, am I being treated the right way by the people around me?
100%. And I think that if you look at a lot of relationships, like, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that you shouldn't ever settle, and the person that you're with, you should make each other better people for being together. Like, I look around at a lot of relationships now, and look, it's up to people what they want to do and everything. I'm not one to judge, but I can see it, and people must have looked at me and thought the same. Like, we did not make each other better people, so it was not healthy. And if that had continued, like, thank God it ended, because if that had continued, the rest of my life would have been a waste, like a complete waste. And it's the same with like friends and family and other people you surround yourself with. If they don't want the best for you and they don't support you in what you're doing, then like, that's not the sort of people you want to surround yourself with. Like, at the end of the day, if people really love and care about you, it doesn't matter what it is you're doing. That's obviously you're hurting people. Maybe that's a bit different, but if you're trying something new or whatever it might be, the people around you are not supporting you and they're holding you back or they're being negative about it, then value yourself more than to spend time with those people.
So are you a big believer in that you are the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with?
100%.
So your success, because you were successful in the corporate world, would have been largely down to your network, which is obviously true because there's some seriously successful people there that
100%.
you'll owe a lot to, and that you'll be able to use what they've taught you in your next venture. And now you've got a new venture with people, again, great network, great opportunities. These are the lessons, guys, for you to take from this podcast. I think it's be around the right people, value yourself, believe in yourself as well, and believe in other people, because life's about people.
I think another thing is like, don't set goals, and 2, don't set them too low. Like, people will just always stay in their comfort zone, and they say the enemy of a great life is a good life. And if people are comfortable and they're getting by, they won't want to change it because they're scared of losing it. But compared to what they could have, like, it's mental. People don't push and they don't try, and so they're never going to get anything out of life because they're just going day to day without striving for the things they really want.
How many people have thought what you're doing now is a mistake?
Loads.
And they think you're insane?
Yeah.
But if you think about the term insanity, it's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating. Can you give the listeners to the podcast any daily habits you have that you feel have helped you develop as a person to make better decisions and to be able to make this one, like to be braver? Like, obviously you surround yourself with the right people, you now believe in yourself more, you've got more self-confidence, obviously you've got yourself in great shape, that's obviously helped your confidence as well. What other daily things you do? So obviously you exercise, which is good for your mindset. You're into meditation as well, aren't you, a little bit?
Yeah, so there's a few things. So meditation, I don't do enough. I need to get doing that daily, because when I go through a stint of doing that daily, my mind just feels so much more clear. Like, especially if you struggle with anxiety and things like that, just doing 5 minutes of meditation every day will make all the difference.
Quick question.
Yeah.
If it's only 5 minutes long, why don't you do it?
Got no excuse.
But then why don't you do it? Because the listeners will be the same. Because they'll be able to relate.
Because I need to up my game on my self-discipline. I just need to plan the day better and make sure I'm prioritising it.
Discipline equals freedom. And the truth will set you free. True?
Yeah.
So, like, if you're listening to this thinking now, like, I don't know what you've taken from it, if you've been inspired in some kind of way, but learning that discipline actually gives you freedom, because Robyn's had to be disciplined to get a business that she can run from home from her mobile phone. That you have to have skills that you have to create through discipline. And that discipline then brings you freedom. Same as going to the gym. Like, you go to the gym to give you freedom with your health. Same as getting up in the morning. You get up a bit earlier to give you more time freedom, because you have more time when you get up earlier. It's just very simple. Like set your alarm earlier, therefore you have more time. Boom. Discipline equals freedom. Go to the gym, you'll feel better. Discipline equals freedom. Eat better, you'll have a better, healthier body. Again, discipline equals freedom. But don't do any of them and you're not free. You're constantly looking to escape, like Robyn was, because she was working 15, 16 hours a day to try and escape from her reality. She was eating rubbish at the weekend, she was drinking lots of alcohol, again driving herself into worse anxiety, worse stress, and into a deeper hole. And people are doing this all over the world because they're just following the system. So this morning, me and Billy went to the gym, and on the way back, we drove home at about 7:30, and people were driving to work. And I was just watching their faces as they drove into work, and I just thought, they didn't look like they were happy people. And I was saying to Bill, I was like, thank God it's Monday, I'm so excited. And he said the same thing. And then we saw people and they didn't feel the same way, and it makes me sad. Because, like you said, we're only here once, and like, why wouldn't you want to spend your time here doing things you actually enjoy doing? Why would you want to go and do a job? Because it conforms to the system. You got to pay your bills until you're dead. Like, what kind of life is that? So if you are doing something that you don't want to do, this isn't a pitch to come and do Herbalife. It's to do something that you actually want to go and do that gives you fulfillment. And I think that's what makes me passionate when I say that. I feel like my heartbeat's going to bloody go through the bloody camera. What were we asking you, Ben?
My daily habits.
Yeah, so do your meditation.
I will do my
Discipline
meditation.
equals freedom. But your excuse would be, I was working too much. Everyone's got like work or things, you know. You have to create the time to give you the freedom.
I think that's it. Everyone's got, people that say they don't have time, that's not true. Everyone's got the same amount of hours in the day, it's just what you prioritise. Everyone can get up a little bit earlier, everyone can choose to do one thing instead of another, or do things at the same time, like listen to personal development while you're driving to work, as an example, or like I do it when I'm cleaning the kitchen, or whatever it might be. But other daily things I do, so you introduced me to the Best Self, is that what they're called? Best Self journals? That's really good, and doing the gratitude every morning and every night, I think just puts you in a much more positive headspace. I think that's had a really big impact on me. And it's even just like simple things, like I'm sat there in the morning, I'm just like, it's sunny today, and it just makes me happy. So just to think about those three things and starting your day that way. Also something that I haven't even really thought about it until now, but we don't look at our phones for like the first hour of the day because we get up early anyway, so no one's really contacting us. But I think that has a massive impact, because then I'm setting the tone of my own day. I'm not looking at a message that's gonna, or seeing something on social media or something that's gonna set my day off badly. If I've got that first hour to myself and I'm doing positive things for me, like reading, having my tea, spending time with you, that sort of thing, meditation as of today, and then I'm deciding how my day's going to go. And then even if after that hour I see that thing on social media, it's not going to impact me, because I've already decided the tone of my day, and I've already decided it's going to be positive.
Mm-hmm. We've become instant gratification junkies, and you can get that instant gratification from, it's like dopamine. You get it from food, you get it from alcohol, you get it from drugs, you get it from gambling, and these are things that people perceive to be like unhealthy if you do it too much, right? Anything in moderation is fine. And the other one that gives you dopamine is your mobile phone, social media, Facebook, Instagram, and people walk around holding it all the time. And I'm one of these people, because you have no idea how bad it can be for you. So the hour that we do in the morning, again, it's been a game changer, because I think we do spend so much time on it, and you literally are just constantly being consumed by the world that has been portrayed on social media, which isn't normally the world that is true in that person's life either. And me and you are so guilty of this. We showed one thing on social media for years when it wasn't. It was a filter. It was a filter of how we wanted the world to think we were, because we both were worried too much about what people think of us. Whereas now, like, we were just on the pier with a tripod trying to take a photo to show that we're about to go on this podcast, and the tripod, it was so windy, blew over, and me and you were just cracking up. People were watching and they're probably thinking, look at them nutters. And a few years ago I wouldn't have even dreamt of doing that, because I've been like, no, people will think we're weird. Whereas I'm like, good, I am weird, embrace it. The truth will set you free. What was I saying?
The hour, not having our phones.
Yeah,
dopamine.
and constantly looking for dopamine. So in the morning, if you wake up, let's say you turn your alarm off, and the first thing you do is look at social media, you're addicted. You're addicted to social media, you're addicted to it. So cut that out. Make it like, just give yourself an hour, have a breakfast, or go for a walk, or listen to your favourite music, watch something funny on television, whatever you want to do that will set you up for your day. Do that versus consuming everyone else's life. And consuming all the negative stuff that's on there, that's normally the case as well. Unless you're watching my Instagram stories, positive only, good vibes only. So, any plans, any goals that you want to share?
Lots of plans, lots of goals. I just want to help as many people as possible, to be honest. Like, I want to help as many people as I can that are in my situation see that there is another way. It's like, it's not perfect by any means, but it's just better for me. There's a lot of people that would love to set up their own business and all that sort of stuff, and they can't because, one, they don't have the funds, two, they don't have the time, three, they're scared of the risk. Like, there's so many people that want to do this sort of stuff, and this is like almost like an easy way to do it. So I think just help as many people see that the opportunity, it's not for everyone by any means, but for people to know that it's there, it might be a good time for them later on in their life. Like, you have to be ready for it. And also just like the whole health thing, like I've helped my mum lose weight and that sort of stuff, and I worked, like, basically never in my life have I been able to help my mum in that way. And then all of a sudden, like, she feels fab, she's sending me pictures of like all the clothes she can fit into now, and it's also brought us closer together, and it's done that for a lot of people, like, and people that I wouldn't have expected to help, I've helped. And the feeling that I get seeing that person feel more confident and better in themselves just from like something super, super easy is just like, I can't explain that feeling. I've never experienced that before. So I just want to help as many people feel the way I feel. That's my biggest goal.
Boom. I think that has been a terrific display of what you're doing now and your bravery to go all in with it, and hopefully the listeners have got some value from it. If you're watching live, hopefully you can actually hear us. If you can't, that's hilarious. You've been watching us for the last hour. If you're still watching, then great from you. If you have any questions for either of us, then by all means send us a message. And thanks everyone for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Any leaving notes? What's your favourite quote? Leave me with a quote.
What's my favourite quote? I've got loads.
Well, it doesn't sound like it. Give them one, woman.
I think I will leave them with, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
There you go. Mic drop. Thanks, listeners. We'll see you in the next one.